Welcome back, everyone, and we only have 3 minutes for this campfire chat because we are behind schedule, so let's make this as quick as possible. Welcome in specTral, our new caster for this matchup.
Yeah, super excited as we're actually going to be completely bulleting past this campfire chat. Now, Dyer, this huge matchup here, I did end up hearing one of the teams, but I also do want to keep the other one a surprise just on my behalf. We're looking at Oboy here. What sets are we going to be seeing here, and what team is Oboy going to be facing?
That's going to be the Cenobite, Dredge, and Artist. Tremor has picked Cenobite. Oboy has picked the Dredge. Cenobite, honestly, to start it off with set number one, Cenobite, an interesting set whenever we are talking about it. Interesting decision making. When are we going for the box? Who's going for it? Am I teleporting as the killer over there? Do I potentially leave the area I want to defend? On the other hand, I would get pressure on the survivors. So I really love Cenobite for this reason, but I do feel like I'm not surprised that Tremor is picking this because every time I've seen Wispy play that killer, it was absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, Cenobite's also a killer that is very, very, very much like, I'd like to say clippable. There are so many good plays that you can make with the Cenobite and so many amazing chains that you can pull off here that just look amazing, man. Like, genuinely, it's a very, very exciting killer to watch, both for us as the casters and for the viewers. So definitely super huge matchup here with Tremor, also aka Trem9, as we have seen them perform before. Very exciting match, man. So I'm definitely super excited to be casting this alongside you.
Absolutely. I am glad we are back together here on the desk. And the Dredge is, for me, an interesting killer because Dredge in the previous tournaments was always a killer where we said, okay, it's time for another Dredge match. We don't really like him yet. What is this killer capable of doing in comp? Like, we were always figuring out. The audience seemed like this as well. And in Season 9, a lot of teams are picking the Dredge. He's becoming more and more famous. People like him because of the quick gameplay, switching from locker location to locker location. Of course, the Midwich Elementary School being a perfect map for that. But this fast gameplay is really something that allows a great expression of skill, and this is what we really appreciate about the Dredge here. Oboy has picked it. We know Tremor or Tremor9's coordination as a team. Do you feel like they might have a difficult time there if Tremor is playing it to an absolute extent here in terms of their coordination?
I mean, definitely, because considering how the members of Tremor are consisting of some people from X9 known to be the best team in the world, at least, I mean, honestly, that's an argument for a lot of teams, but X9 definitely has made their mark on a lot of teams, and especially the entire comp scene as a whole. So seeing them on a team like Tremor, to where we have seen the performance before, they are a very, very, very tough contender here at DBDL Season 9. So definitely, man, Oboy's gonna have a lot of trouble here with X9, but remember, Oboy is also a very, very good team. People like Dunder, Paleloop, Daimao, those people are very, very well-known players, and they're very good at their craft. So we're definitely going to have to see how they fare up against such a powerful team, and especially such a powerful killer, as we're probably going to be seeing Wispy on every single killer for Tremor. I do think they could have a shot at it. I mean, Wispy is not known to be playing these killers, but every time I have said that, man, in different games, and every time I've like casted Wispy, like, sure, as an example, Wispy once played Blight. He 4K'd at 2, I believe. That was insane. I've never seen that guy play Blight before.
Yeah, absolutely. Wispy is someone who surprises us again and again along with the teammates. Oh boy, you mentioned it. Very, very insane roster. Paleloop, the one addition throughout Season 9 now as well. Another really, really experienced survivor coming from teams like Synapse, Calamity, I believe, in the past as well. So coming a long way with a lot of experience there as well. So that's definitely going to be the story of a team that made a recent return, oh boy, and now smashing the scene, and a team that has coming together in a new constellation, but having enough names and enough experience to come out on the top here. What's your prediction, specTral? Who is going to take this home?
I'd have to go with Tremor here, but I feel like, oh boy, that will not happen without an extremely exciting match. I'd like to see a close match as well on some of these sets.
We hope so. And I mean, Tremor and Oboy would be the perfect teams to make it a very, very close matchup. And if all of that is not enough to determine a winner, then we will have the Artist in the back pocket. Artist, someone, a killer that hasn't been playing too often in Season 9 yet, can be definitely an oppressing killer, and we love to see the snipes on her.
Definitely, man. I mean, there are so many plays you can actually pull off with the Artist here. I mean, have you ever seen, do we actually see it in comp, but there are moments in comp where an Artist can set up a double crow. Although it is not exactly the most conventional thing, it is definitely such an amazing play to watch, because I mean, 1 second you're healthy and then the next second you're injured and you're not even near the killer. Like, what? That is such an insane play that an Artist can pull off here. I mean, Dyer, also, as well as actually before we get into this match here, how do you think the first set is going to go for both the teams? I mean, it's such a dangerous set, as Cenobite can be played very excitingly. Like, I'd like to say, more or less, it's like a 50-50 set. It either goes right or it goes completely horribly wrong.
Yeah, I have to agree there, because especially when you try to play the Cenobite relatively aggressive, trying to chain the survivors, maybe then going for a slug or spreading the pressure, and this doesn't work out in the early game, the survivors really can give you a difficult time. And one team that is able to deal with that, I feel like, is Oboy. So whenever they face a difficult time and whenever they face a difficult situation in the match, they are playing with fun and joy and keeping all of this together. So even if Wispy is coming out very, very strong here, I feel like Oboy is a perfect team that can counter this, and that can set Wispy into a frame and say, not further than here. I don't know if it will be enough to stop Wispy, but I would hope so. So I will actually see Oboy coming out as the winner here, to also have from the start a surprising turnaround in the first set. How do you see it on the Cenobite?
I mean, Cenobite, I'm not going to lie, I feel like, yes, it is a safe way to say that Oboy might possibly take the first set of Cenobite. I do know that their killer is a very, very, very good one. So, wait, I mean, honestly, who would be the killer here for Oboy? There's quite a few killer players on this roster. Speaking with Dunder, I do know is a very experienced killer. Jiggy, I do know, has played killer in the past. Daimao is a very experienced killer as well. There's just definitely so many options here for Oboy to go through with, to potentially see a win against Tremor. And in the game, there is so many options I could do. I mean, a simple mistake on the box could really do a lot of damage on it to the survivors, and they are definitely going to have to make a lot of progress against that, because I mean, chain hunt in very tough situations could be a very big nuisance, although it is something that is only really serving a purpose just to kind of waste a little bit of time until somebody either grabs a box or they are pressured, because, you know, understanding as you are in chase, chain hunt cannot affect you, but it is very, very annoying, and actually could give off a little bit of information here, because Wispy is a very information-based player. He does tend to run a lot of informational perks. We have seen him with his amazing game sense before use those perks to the utmost advantage, so to get a lot of value out of it, and actually to perfectly counter all of the survivors. But going back to the reality right now of this game, I think maybe Tremor could make a mistake. They are a very well-coordinated team, but Cenobite does also require a lot of coordination from the get-go.
Let's see what's going to happen, though. We need to load into the first match. We're going on a quick break here, and we will see you right after that with the first trial. The Dead Dog Saloon, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most favorite maps in competitive Dead by Daylight, does host a special game today between X9 and Oboy Wispy for X9. I said it again. Tremor! It's Tremor with X9 Wispy on the killer side. I would call them Trem9, just as we agreed on in the campfire chat. And the Shack Pallet leaving the trial very early on here as well. Valuable resource out of the way, and the box being found as well. Good start for Wispy so far.
Yeah, definitely. With finding that box, Pallet is going to pick it up and now actually going to start for his team. Actually, maybe even holding it, as we have not seen any notification on Wispy's side yet, but chasing Jiggy front of main. as Wispy's trying to look for a chain here. Ends up hitting a good one, and that is going to be the first tag of the game onto Jiggy. Very good start. Oh, wait. Jeez. Seems like that was a small bit of a lag spike. Otherwise, that was just a viewer, or sorry, a streamer thing. But we're actually going to be looking at Jiggy running top of main and starting it off here for Oboy. A fairly solid chase with head-on coming through from an unknown contender. Probably going to be chasing them now as we leave Jiggy and are now going to be chasing Dunder, as Dunder's going to be moving back in towards main and not going to be committed to a fairly good exchange there for Wispy, but no downs and a very, very good response by Oboy there, definitely. But dude, an amazing snipe on it to Jiggy. Direwolf, they are going to be taking a hit here. How fast do you think this down is, or if it's even going to be a down in the first place?
We can only hope that it will be a longer run for Jiggy here, and with the help of Pali, that should be fine. They are both making it towards the main building, and that's a very abusable structure for the more M1 orientated killers, but our body blocker is just going to make another turn on the bottom of the main building. Interesting decision right there. That's going to be Pali going down still relatively quickly. We do hear in above us that there's a little bit of progress coming out on the main building generator, but besides that, there's not too much going on the side of Oboy here. So unfortunate first down very quickly into the trial. Wispy here with some pressure. We are mending on the street, very confident right there, but Wispy already on the hunt for the generator and Dunder here potentially. So Oboy slowly getting the pressure into the objectives. First generator coming out. That's a really good answer here to the first down, but we will have to see. The next chase in optimal way is going to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we did see an incredibly powerful perk there at the top. Rapid brutality coming through after every single M1, giving him a burst of speed to move forward and quickly catch up to the survivor, which we did see there on to Paliloop. And from the hit take after Jiggy, which I'm not gonna lie, that was such an unbelievable play. I mean, the perks like these are things that we have seen before. They are banned in a lot of leagues just for the start of it until they are perfectly balanced, and even then this perk is actually still banned in very many situations. But Paliloop going to be hitting second state, and now moving over towards the survivors. We're going to be seeing a bit of pressure on to most of these gens. They are not going to be doubling any gen, they're actually going to be splitting it, and most likely Dimeout is actually going for save right now, taking a tag from Wispy, as now they're going to be both running over towards the front of main. I think we could be seeing a 2-tap here onto Dimeout, but no, instead we're actually going to be looking for the breaks onto Paliloop to see if we can maybe deny the tunnel out, but the original pain is going to work heavily against Pali, as he did end up breaking a chain by himself accidentally, so that is going to be that mending status effect denying him his borrowed time. But now he's gonna have to win a 50-50. He takes one, vaults it, gets a lot of distance on top of that one. Is he gonna be able to make this pallet? And it seems like no, that is not going to be the case, as Pali hits the floor, and that could be a death at 4 gens unless they pop a gen here very quickly. But Wispy is going to interrupt one of them, and that's actually going to be moving closer towards Jiggy and hitting an amazing snipe there just below that fence there. Such an amazing play by Wispy, getting the mending status effect on top of Jiggy, meaning that he is going to have to mend himself, which is just a little bit of time being wasted. But with that being said, that is going to be the first kill of the game at 3 gens remaining. Such an amazing play, Direwolf. Wispy definitely showing a lot of strength here in the Cenobite set, even though most people, I would like to say confidently, most people have not seen a Wispy play such a killer.
Yeah, this is really rough that we have the first elimination going out and 3 generators remaining. We can only hope that the number down there in the bottom corner looks worse than it actually is, and that seems to be the case. At least one more generator is coming out. We do get attack whatsoever onto Dunder here, and now Daimao, Jiggy and him are all injured. So they need to make sure that they are not taking too much risk on the generators here, and not going to fall into any overcommitment or being unaware what's happening around them. That's going to be the quick down onto Jiggy here, being unaware where Wispy was exactly located, and that's going to be a quick rehook into stage number 4 right here in front of the main building on the street. A really good resource for the killer, trying to chain a little bit the houses sections generator that we this one houses section generator into the hook stage there, so being able to camp and defend this one generator. The other generators are luckily for Oboy further scattered towards the water tower, the windmill and the gallows area, so that definitely has the potential for a good comeback right there. Poor Daimao right here being injured, with the box trying to lurk a little bit in the shadows for the potential unhook, but Jiggy very likely to go into the second stage here, and honestly cranking the generators on the side of Oboy is maybe not the worst idea right now.
I'm not gonna lie, Daimao does have to be careful there. Tries to go for that snipe. I was going to say, if Daimao was to be the one that was found here with box and chase, that would have been extremely bad for Oboy, and I would have actually confidently said that that was going to be a 4K2 for Wispy. But Daimao does end up making his distance away and does safely make the box and solve it, meaning that they're not going to be having the pressure of chain hunt anytime soon. But Jiggy is going to hit the second state, and now Wispy is going to be moving away from the hook to get a lot closer towards these survivors, as we are going to be seeing a lot of progress on top of this generator. But are we going to be chasing anyone just yet? And it seems like that is going to be the case, with Daimao being chased over here in the corner of the map, having to make his distance away, as he does have a very risky 50-50 pallet but to work with, but he's not actually going to make that to begin with, as he does run into the killer, trying to cut the distance and make it closer towards the pallet, but that unfortunately did not work in Daimao's favor. As remember, this is cross ping right now. It is going to be NA East versus EU, which is going to be a very difficult matchup indeed, because remember, the ping and a lot of things that you should make on same ping are not going to work on cross ping at all. I mean, we all know this. Especially these comp players, they've played against such horrendous ping situations back to back over and over, with NA West to Asia at one point in a tournament before, which was definitely a very exciting match. It looked like everybody was just throwing their weapons at each other, so super funny matchup to watch. But back to this game, Daimao does have that first hook on top of him, and Wispy's actually going to be making his way back over towards this hook, as we do see the unhook coming through from an unknown survivor. It does seem like that unknown survivor was going to be Jiggy, as Dunder's going to be getting on top of the box and be focusing onto Daimao, getting him into the mending state, meaning that he's going to be going down almost instantly, as that is not going to be any borrowed time and no distance off of that. So unfortunate for Oboy here, as they're just trading states at this point with barely any pressure coming through on these generators, but they are wasting a little bit of time, maybe trying to use it to reposition, regroup, maybe rethink their plan, as Dunder is going to be working a gen by himself, and Jiggy is probably going to be pressuring the hook with Heartbeat on top of them, meaning that the killer's close by. But as Wispy walks away and actually is currently over near Water Tower and moving his way back over towards the top side of the map, such an unfortunate circumstance for Oboy in this moment, Dire.
Absolutely. Oboy really fighting here and really trying to show us what they got in terms of new strategy, in terms of adjusting the game plan, and in terms of coordination in the team. And it all looks great as a little piece together, but unfortunately they are not able to chain it into a dominant performance here, and not being able certainly to keep up with the pressure that Wispy is currently applying on the Deadlock Saloon. That's going to be a slow vault by Daimao. That's certainly not enough to make it into safety right there. So that's going to be another down and another kick onto the gen right here. 8 hook stages, 2 generators to go. Dunder being injured, and information onto Jiggy here. specTral, I'm a little bit worried at the moment that we even get towards that final generator, which is, as usual, the good win condition to set, because then you can go for a potential endgame slugfest and go for the tiebreaker here if you face the opponent team to take stages out of the door. But so far it seems like Oboy is far away from talking about a win condition like this. Unfortunately, the 2 objectives are still standing in the way. We have to be fair though. They did manage to break any difficult setup right here. The 3-gen towards this bottom side is a little bit scattered out. We have 1 here at the windmill and 2 towards the gallows area, but out of nowhere almost the chain application onto Jiggy there. And that's going to be very likely the injury coming in soon, especially with the second chains coming in here as well. So we have Dunder and Jiggy both injured, and we can only hope that they get at least 1 more generator out of the way here.
As you did say before, there was a gen there very close to popping. I'm fairly certain Wispy did also realize that, as this was the only gen that he has not checked in a while, and Jiggy was playing a little too obvious there, trying to take the aggro and just trying to take the heat away from Dunder, as Dunder was able to safely work that gen, but unfortunately that did not go in their favor. And now focusing our sights on it to Jiggy's. Jiggy's actually going to be taking a quick chain after and around the water tower. Very smart play and a very good chain there from Wispy. Wispy's not going to be looking at it down just yet, as they do end up safely making this pallet, trying to swing through, ends up missing just short. Gonna be going for another chain, trying to make his distance over towards the rock. Gonna be using the rock to break and make a lot more distance, but that's gonna be the impaling wire working heavily against him. Tries to go for that swing, not enough distance to make the pallet or run in a straight line, and they are going to pop the 4th gen with that super small chase there from Jiggy. So very well played by them, as Oboy is going to be looking at a 4K2 win con, 4K1-2 tie, and now the chase goes off onto Dunder. Dire finish us off here with this very interesting matchup and a final chase here from Dunder.
Yeah, this generator we saw, the 4th generator, was really, really important. It might sound, when you look at it from the first side, you might say, well, it's just another generator. They still got the 4K here. And yes, the 4K is always rough, but at least you are now forcing the survivor team of Tremor in the upcoming trial to break the 3-gen in order to win. And we know the Deadlock Saloon, there's a lot of 3-genning going on, especially towards that Gallows area. So in case Oboy's killer will be able to defend the 3-gen, and you will finish off with a 4K on 1 generator standing, you take the tie, you don't lose a set point yet, maybe we're even coming back to it later on, and then you can go for a new approach on the Cenobite with a different strategy here. Therefore, that 4th generator is always really, really important, because it makes the difference between, can my opponent team ignore a 3-gen setup or can they not? And the answer is X9 and Tremor will not, I saved it, will not be able to take any safety here. They have to smash through the 3-gen setup, they have to complete all the generators, and that's certainly a chance for Oboy to make a comeback here. We are closing the hatch towards the end to get that extra blood points on the scoreboard as well. Very insane showing by Wispy, that's for sure. 4K making it look so easy on top of that, and Oboy is certainly a team that has the power to smash through the gens and be very oppressive in the early game. Therefore, congratulations to Team Tremor here, showing us a fantastic first trial. We will find out what Oboy has to offer us on the killer side after the next break.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the one and only DBDLeague. I'm your caster, specTral, joined here by the man, the myth, the legend, the football caster himself of DBD, Direwolf, starting it off here with Oboy versus Tremor, as it is going to be Obi for the side of Oboy of the second game here of the first set versus the Tremor 9 survivors, which I'm actually loving to see. Dire, interesting roster here today, as we're actually going to be seeing an exclusivity of only quote-unquote X9 members, and I say quote-unquote as we're actually going to be seeing Zaphis. Zaphis has been picked up on in a few tourneys, I believe 1 or 2, for the roster of X9 officially. I don't know if he's an official player just yet, but we could be seeing something here very, very soon. What are your thoughts on it, as we're going to be starting the chase off here with Ja?
I think these circumstances create some sort of expectation. We will definitely expect a huge efficiency and a huge team play together when it comes to body blocking and all these times of strategies, and Ja just barely making it over the pallet here. Very unfortunate for the killer of Oboy, because this was really something you were looking for, and there we see exactly what we just worded as an expectations. The body blocks for each other, throwing human meat shields into the survivor and the killer in order to make sure that the chase is going on a little bit longer. Is Adam still around? That's going to be the interesting question. It doesn't matter so far, because we do reach the windmill with no pressure here. A little bit of patience game, eventually dropping the pallet. Adam, that is Wispy, still lurking in the shadow, coming in now, taking that body block. 2 injuries so far, but that allows Zaphis in hand to work on the generators, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some significant progress there coming out anytime soon.
And definitely with the start of this chase right now, as Wispy's actually going to be making his way over towards this window, and we're going to be looking at it down here. No nays twice in a row, as we do see 2 gens pop so fast for nothing yet. Right now, almost said X9. Tremor looking at a super amazing start right now. Zaphis is unfortunately, Wispy's unfortunately going to be looking at it down here, unless he's going to be able to play this 50-50 pallet perfectly. Going to be getting a lot of distance on top of that, not going to be making his way back over towards this water tower, but unfortunately not enough distance, and no hit takes coming through here, as he's just going to be dying corner away from the gens, as they're going to be safely pressuring most, if not every other gen. Wait, no, actually no, 3 survivors are currently doing nothing at this current moment, as Ja is going to be making his way over towards the 3 gen gen near Gallows. And I think we could be seeing, oh, that is going to be the pain res on it to Haunt, who I do not understand or know where Haunt is. Seems like he is actually going to be on the mid gen here, but there are a handful of gens here remaining. It is a tight, I'd like to say 5 gen almost, as it is not, it is in a good general vicinity, and he can pressure it with chains fairly expertly. But now actually going to be seeing Haunt coming in closer for the save, as Haunt's going to be taking a tag. Sloppy Butcher being affected now on 2 survivors, as Wispy's going to be fresh and now free. Going after Wispy, as he does understand that he does have original pain, and that is going to be the next tunnel out, as he has 1 stage on top of him. But Wispy's going to be making a lot of distance away from these gens. Missing that 1 chain is going to be horrible for him, as he's not going to be able to safely make this 4-lane loop. No door just broken here yet. Now going to be vaulting that window, going to be looking over towards his pallet. He does end up making it safely, tries to swing for it, but ends up cutting just short. No hits, no pokos, no nothing here just yet. So much patience here from Wispy, as Wispy's actually going to be playing around this 50-50 pallet perfectly. Goes for that swing and ends up getting the stun. Such amazing gameplay here from Wispy. No, like, pokos hit, man. This is cross-ping, and we have not seen any nasty hits at all. Dire, this is just amazing, exceptional gameplay here from the survivors. Going to be looking at a slow vault, but that is going to be a down. Just more time that Wispy is going to be wasting for his team, and Wispy is the painters, meaning that they are going to be popping gens, most likely 2 back-to-back. Such an amazing chase there by Wispy.
Absolutely, that was a run for the gods, and it's so punishing for the killer. 2 generators coming out, already working on that final generator, and keep the win condition in mind. We are looking forward to a final generator, meaning that the set point would be awarded to Team Tremor here. So we don't even need to worry about anyone walking out of the door here. In worst case, we could have a triple stack up on the final generator. But let's talk about the chase with Zafis that is currently going on, and that was a somewhat of a 2-tap here. So is this the time where Oboy is fighting themselves back? Is it the time for the comeback here? That's going to be the interesting question for the next couple of seconds here. Definitely a very, very good down here onto Zafis. We're rotating back towards the windmill, towards the generator. We've seen taking some progress. We have 1 more here right onto the street. A very, very good generator for the survivor team, because they do have instant access towards the main building that grants a lot of safety in the distance. Zaf is now being taken off the hook here, so very great coordination, and especially a quick unhook coming out from Team Tremor. Great application of the chains that should prevent Haunt from making it to the pallet, and that's indeed going to be the case. 4th hook stage coming out, that is also going to be a little bit of additional pressure, a little bit of an additional reset that needs to be taken by the survivors. So we are slowly but steady fighting back against the loss we had due to the big chase we had from Wispy there. Pain res hook coming in as well, so we do get the regression onto the objective. Zafis facing the save and the rescue in the distance. Meanwhile, Wispy is the survivor that is staying injured, and we do have the next chase coming out on the main building with Sad Survivor. We're very likely going to see the body block here. Obi is going to shorten it a little bit down, just hitting over the tile here. Now we have 2 injured survivors. Will he be able to chain them together? That's going to be the case. We do reduce the distance onto Zafis. Is that enough to make it towards the pallet? The answer is yes, but it's a 50-50. Oh, the pallet has been broken. Never mind. Don't mind me about this, but he is forcing the grasp onto the locker here. That is going to result in the rescue of Haunt, and Tremor therefore being able to go for a little bit of a reset here. Good play by the survivor team. Another painless hook coming out with Zafis here, but I would expect Wispy and Haunt pulling all the way back now in order to heal and then come back with full power.
Remember that Ja is also the final Painter's Hook survivor right now, meaning that if he is Painter's, that is most likely going to be the death almost of an entire gen, as that is another 25% of a generator being completely removed. But Ja does end up safely making this right here, ends up swinging there to try to reduce the time it does take to fall. Surprised that they did not actually opt for that, and Ja, more interested in the rock than vaulting the pallet, is going to go down. Interesting play there, as that is going to most likely be the final Painter's. I'm not gonna lie here, man. Dire, such an extremely amazing start there for Tremor 9, as they did end up popping 4 gens so quick just for 2 stages. But right now it is looking like it is slowing down. We could be seeing that comeback, as we did predict from the campfire chat, of Oboy taking the Cenobite set against Tremor. I mean, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. this has just been so, like, comeback, like, worthy. I mean, so many stages coming out right now. Wispy actually going to be taking a tag, as there's now probably going to be 3 injuries unless they're going to be resetting. Hopefully they're focusing more on the gen just to pop it and get it out of the way, just to take the set for the sake of Tremor. But right now, Wispy's going to be running onto the top of main. 3 chains on top of him makes him window very safely. 2 survivors around here probably trying to reset. Seems like that is going to be a little bit of a mistake. We do not know where those other survivors are. We can only see them because of empathetic connection and other means of perks. But right now, making it over towards the front of main pallet, taking another chain, could be looking at it down here very shortly, just trying to reduce and break the chains, as now Zaphis is going to be coming in to take a hit, waste more time on the side of the survivors. He's actually now going to be seeing Oboy running away back over towards these generators, as he doesn't understand that these generators are going to be pressure jaw, going to be running over towards the corner of the map, taking another chain right here, could be using the use of impaling wire to make his distance back over. A lot of progress onto the gen, but not enough to completely horrify him. Now going to be playing the wrong side of the rocks, ends up missing it. Oboy, or no, Obi, just trying to get his distance on top of Jaw, is not going to be looking at the down, as he does end up swinging forward. Another down for Obi. Oboy in a very tough situation now, just going to be picking up that box to lessen the load on top of Obi, as now Obi's actually going to be ignoring Jaw, ignoring the generator altogether, making his way over towards this water tower gen to see if they can pop it. Now going to be resetting Wispy on top of main. Zaphis, of course. Now we're going to be seeing the chains interrupting them completely. 3 chains instantly on the top of Haunt, as he is going to be completely sniped. Now used to the effect, unfortunately not going to be able to use that heartbeat to his advantage. Haunt making a slight mistake there, is now going to be looking at another down, as Wispy's going to be looking for that pickup on top of Jaw as well. This is just Tremor going downhill on a cart right now. Forced into such a tough situation on the wrong side of the pallet, opting to go for the edge map tile. No, just making his distance away so they can pick up Haunt and get enough time to get both the box and everything else among that. Now probably looking to go over for this. Not going to be able to make that tile locker to waste enough time for them to pop that gen. Or wait, is that going to be enough? As we're actually going to be seeing him so close by. Now switching over towards Jaw. There's a lot of progress in that gen, but it is unfortunately not going to be enough, even with Deja Vu increasing that speed. Just such amazing pressure here provided by Oboy, getting these quick enough downs to completely deny them the gen. But are they going to be doubling that water tower gen? Is this going to be enough? He's ratting so close by, he's pressuring it even while injured. This could be just what he needs to completely do it, and they are going to pop that final gen. So unfortunate for Oboy, even with that so amazing comeback there, getting so many downs back to back. That is not going to be the set win there. But now it is up to Oboy, or Obi. Oboy, like, the guy's name is so close to the team name. But now he does need to get a 4K here at 0 for the sake of points. And now chasing Jaw here for one of our final chases. Such an interesting match here, Dyer. I mean, even with that being said, since we did actually end up seeing the end of it here just now, what are your thoughts on such an amazing performance from Obi, even though unfortunately it was not enough against Tremor's pressure?
I feel really bad for him, because I was about to say, if he clutches that and if he somehow makes a turn, well then, oh boy, better makes a sculpture of their killer player and putting it into their gardens as a tribute. Because what we have seen here was an absolute amazing gameplay on the Dead Dog Saloon, and if this horrible win condition wouldn't be there, then we would appreciate this trial for so long. Now it's almost a little bit like getting lost, because everyone knows, well, Tremor is taking the set point here, so yeah, unfortunately it didn't matter. But what we saw here, we need to point that out. Obi dealing with so much pressure from the Survivor team, dealing with body blocks being taken, dealing with an aggressive Survivor team from the start, and he only had a couple of stages when 3 generators were already completed, and then he was keeping an eye on the gens again and again and again. And this was so well done that I still feel like, even though the first set point is going towards Tremor, Oboy, especially Obi here as a killer player, is profiting for the upcoming sets a lot here, because you do have the confidence now. You do know that you can keep control over Tremor, you can keep the survivors under control, you can prevent them from getting the generators done too early, and all of this is something in your mindset and in your confidence that you're carrying over through the next trial. So therefore, Obi definitely very dangerous here, and Tremor shouldn't feel too great. And one thing, without going too much into the wound there and picking too much on the negative sides of Tremor, we do know from the past that when Tremor or X9, however you want to word it in this case. But when some of their players are put into a difficult challenge, into a difficult situation where the game plan doesn't work out as they intended to, we have seen the team breaking down, and we have seen that this had a severe negative impact onto the upcoming trials. So we can only hope that Tremor will focus the set point they got here and not about the fact that this got a lot more difficult than it was supposed to be. If they manage to do that in this break, if they keep up the positivity, well, then we are all in for the survivor team of Tremor that is going to open the second set. And second set, ladies and gentlemen, we will have for you straight after the intermission. Welcome back, everyone, to Midwich Elementary School. I hope you all completed and finished your homework, and then we are going to look forward to a nice dredge game here between Tremor on the survivor side with the Zaphis, Wispy, Horned, and Jar, and Oboy with Obi on the killer side. Let's see what we have here. It's definitely going to be the turn for Oboy because they have been picking this set, and they are also under pressure since they are 1-0 down to Tremor. Let's see, the survivors are already getting their hands onto the generators right here. A little bit of celebration with the firecracker coming out, but that's not going to matter because Wispy decides to move away from the pallet short after, not dropping the god pallet in the hallway whatsoever. So either we have a buddy very soon, or Wispy is confident that the looping skills in this classroom here will be enough. That's going to be a difficult task though, because we do have the power and the quick teleport. However, Wispy does anticipated in the perfect moment. It is therefore able to double back in the perfect timing, chaining it into the next filler pallet that we have right here next to the lockers. But unfortunately, the chase is not going to be the longest. It was still a relatively good chase considering where Wispy was zoned in between, but unfortunately not able to prevent it for much longer. We have 80% in exchange on the generator of Adam, and two survivors are doubling up on another generator. Jar now rotating over to rescue Wispy as quick as possible here. So for Tremor, it's important to keep the survivors all in the game and all efficient onto the generators here, and we do see a For the People coming out as quick as possible, therefore preventing the tunnel out onto Wispy from the start here. Very interesting decision making by our survivor team here, expecting that Obi would immediately tunnel out, but usually we do see the For the People play on the second hook stage on a survivor. Who are we locating over here is the question. I do believe that is Wispy. Yeah, that is Fancy Adam with the code right there. So it is going to be the tunnel out. Unfortunately, though, we will need 2 tags onto the survivor, and with that god pallet being dropped right here, that's going to be significantly more difficult than before. Into the courtyard, crossing the map a little bit and building ourselves a house in the IKEA church tower on the elementary school right here. Another teleport coming out, trying to make it, but Wispy is happily taking the tag and using the sprint burst to get away from the killer. Obi with a nice teleport, but that's unfortunately not going to be enough here.
I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I did actually end up seeing just the start of this match right now, and Wispy is showing so much potential here in chase. I mean, the guy is considered to be one of the best in the world, tries to end up playing for the opposite side of that 50-50, as we did see him double back there earlier into the killer just to bait out the teleport, and he tries to run through it this time, even if it is just to destroy the Revenant, but unfortunately that is not going to be enough. But dude, this pressure on these generators for every single time that Wispy has been chased, it's just back to back. Every single serve set has been Wispy being chased, sent to second state, but 1 gen remaining every single time. Just such an amazing amount of pressure from Tremor's team. But wait, we're actually going to be seeing the interrupters now. Obi's actually going to be finding the pressure on top of this gen, now going to be taking the attack onto Zaphis and ignoring him now, as we're going to be going back over towards this gen and kicking it with Pop Goes the Weasel and applying Eruption to it too. not only make the survivors scream, but also to regress the gen just by a little bit and give them the aura reading to know where they are going in the future. Now going to be going back over towards this hook to where we see the 1-for-1 coming through from Haunt. Haunt getting very close, maybe not just going to be going for the 1-for-1 just yet, just going around trying to get as much distance as he can, but now blocking the door, forced to go the other direction. Could be seeing this block coming through here from Obi, perfectly blocking Haunt, but Haunt ends up getting through and now going to be forced to take that tag. 1-for-1 coming through, not just yet, as he is going to waste just a little bit of time. Wispy is going to get a little bit of distance off that, as the animation of that hit take is going to go for and long enough to get him over towards this window, especially if that borrowed time, but it is broken. Now just going to be faking it, wasting as much time as possible, going into the teleport, charging and waiting there and getting a lot of pressure on top of that, but is going to be blocking that window as he has vaulted it 3 times now. Now going to be forced to stay around these desks. It's such a very unfortunate loop, just waiting for his teleport to come back to completely pressure him on a perfect side. Now going to be holding that teleport, could be seeing the W coming through here, but no, instead going to be running into the killer. Obi is going to be going for that, but ignoring Wispy, instead going to be going straight over for the Science Classroom 2, where we see there's a lot of progress on top of this generator. Nothing to kick it with, however. 2 people still on the floor as Haunt is still being slugged, and Zaphis is the only person that isn't being chased and currently pressured at this current moment, but Jaw is going to have to stay alive just for a little bit longer. Now going to be going over towards this very risky locker room pallet and the Science pallet to work with. Could he be looting it perfectly? Could we be seeing that? Unless we're going to be seeing a 50-50 coming through from here, but it seems like that is going just to be the down, as Jaw is not going to call out Obi just perfectly, but still going for that complete slug play, just wasting as much time. Dire, we're seeing a bit of a repeat here from what Elysium did end up performing against Tremor themselves, I believe so, on, or wait, was it Tremor? I think it was on the Billy set. Oh lord.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Tremor again, because it's basically the same mistake that happened throughout the trial on the Dead Dog Saloon beforehand. They're looking strong in the early game. They're coming out aggressive. They are coming in with plays, like the people on the first hook stage onto Wispy to prevent the tunnel out. They are having ideas, and they are having what it takes to make themselves significant. But then, out of nowhere, it is not going to work out, and it does ultimately end with a potential 4K, in this case with a 4K. On one generator standing on top, so we are basically flipping the win conditions from the previous set here. If Oboi's survivor team will complete all the generators, then we are going to take the 1-1 and we are loading into the Artist set here. That's definitely meaning that Obi is putting his survivor team in a very good spot right now, and definitely a very responsible player here. Who's stepping up. Absolute congrats there for this great performance. But what is it on the side of Tremor today? What is it that causes them to seem dominant and aggressive 2 times, but then ultimately shut down by Obi here? Is it Obi turning into Iron Man of DBD, or is there something on the survivor side? specTral, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it might just be the idea. I mean, we've already seen it in comp a lot. I can definitely say that. I mean, Dire, you yourself, you've probably seen a lot of these newer teams. I wouldn't like to call them a new team, but remember, these people are kind of playing with each other on different teams. So you could typically say that it is a roster that is currently mushed together. Their synergy is amazing. Early game with early starting teams, like newer teams, their early game is very powerful. It's a very easy stage of the game to play at. You know, you understand, you have every single palette on the map to work with. You have all 8 gens, or is it 8? I believe it is 8 gens to pressure perfectly, and of course there's just so much to do. But as the game progresses, there's less and less resources to work with, there's less and less things to actually do, there's more potential for the killer to completely take the game forward, and we're seeing that right now against or with Oboy, just completely taking Tremor by a complete surprise, as Tremor, unfortunately, their end game each and every single time is just something that is not like amazing, man. Their end games have been very, very poor performance so far, but their early games are just so explosive, so amazing. But I mean, just as we see right now, that the slug play right now is so perfect by Obi. And I would also like to say this, as much as you still get full points from bleed outs and everything, but please don't like commit to it. Try to find the survivors. Don't waste all of our time. God. But yeah, it's so unfortunate to see, and I will stand by that like full-heartedly. It is just I feel like maybe not enough synergy for them to completely cut through to the end game. And it could also just be the sets. I mean, remember, these teams are very used to more S tier, more basic killers. I mean, Dredge is a fairly difficult killer to play around. It optimizes different and uses different strategies. It's a lot of things that you have to consider when you're facing a Dredge. So it could just be a little bit of unfamiliar ground here for Tremor.
Have to agree there, and I do think this is my number one theory that I will take into my grave. Mark my words. In 80 years, I will, hopefully I have another 80 years ahead of me, but in 80 years I will still present you this theory. Team chemistry is underestimated in competitive DBD. Teams are forming new rosters, they shuffle their rosters, and based on 1-2 not working out tournaments, we see adjustments being taken, players that don't want to play together anymore, and team chemistry needs to grow over a long time. And I'm speaking out of my own experience here. I was playing on 2 teams only, Golden Wolves for the main time, then Cold afterwards. And we were never the Ironmans of DBD, certainly not. But we turned a ton of matches where people said, well, yeah, GG, because of the team chemistry. If you are sitting together and you trust each other and you fight together, and there's someone who's able to say, well, team, don't let it hang yet, let's pull together, let's make a turn, and then there comes a motivation, like a little spark, like a flame, then you can make something happen even in a difficult situation. And this is what I'm missing here. I don't want to point on Tremor and tell them, well, you don't have team chemistry. They certainly do. We see it a lot of times. But in the difficult situation, my theory is that Tremor is not able to pull together and come as one unit against this challenge. And this is what Obi is abusing right now. This is what he was abusing at the Dad Dog Saloon, and this is what he was abusing at Midwich Elementary School. The fact that Tremor, or in this case the X9 roster, is not able to function as a unit that is pulling together when the killer becomes oppressive. And this is what costed them the game almost in the first set, and we will find out if it costed them the second set. But mark my words, this is the issue here, Tremor. If you want coaching, order me on Etsy or something like that. But this is my theory on this business here. We'll set up the second set on Midwich Elementary School with the Dredge, this time played by Team Tremor. See you in a minute.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the one and only DBDLeague. I'm your caster, specTral, here with Direwolf, the organizer of the entire organization himself. Now starting off with Tremor versus Oboy for the second match of the second set, which is going to be Dredge on Midwich Elementary School. Such an amazing set, such an amazing amount of potential. We did see earlier there, reflecting back on our last game, an incredibly amazing game by Obi, getting an insane slug play at 4K1 gen remaining. But right now, starting it off with Wispy, who has to beat this result with a 4K2 if he wants to end up going for the 2-0, or we could be going to see a tiebreaker set here very soon, which honestly I'm kind of excited for, even though as much as I don't want to waste as much time as possible, don't want to see it at the same time. It's like a love-hate relationship that I have with the tiebreaker set. But breaking Ruin instantly, Wispy is looking at it down so much faster than what happened here before in the last game, where he was down at 2 gens, or after 2 gens popped, and then later another 2 gens for his second state. So we could be seeing a faster chase here, or we could be seeing a completely dominant performance here from Oboy as well. So super exciting match ahead of us, Dyer. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I do wish for Oboy to complete all the generators here, because Obi has shown us a great killer performance twice, a comeback twice, and therefore I feel like that should be rewarded. So going into that artist set on a 1-1 would feel really fair here and justified according to what Obi presented to us. Wispy is being put on a little bit of a run here. Daimao doing a good job breaking a couple of walls right here, and he he has another very, very strong pallet around. So at the early game, there's going to be some time lost for the killer. On the other hand, later on, you will profit from that, since so many resources have been removed already. Daimao holding W, trying to waste as much time as possible. We do have this filler pallet right here, but we are getting stuck, so therefore Daimao not making it any further. And that's going to be the second hook stage for Daimao here, so potentially a 3v1 scenario coming out soon. So Oboy should better get a speed onto these generators.
I'm not gonna lie, even with how tough this situation is looking for Oboy right now, with what happened in the last game, they have so much more leniency to be able to make more mistakes. I mean, Daimao could die right now, and their only condition is to either reach the tie condition of 4K1 or just pop that final first gen, which is going to be the 5th generator, which is going to have to beat. Wispy is going to get stunned here and now going to be teleporting back down towards the hook, which could be another survivor coming in close by. Could be looking at a 1-for-1 here, but no one close by enough to pressure this unhook perfectly. And remember, the drop is on the other side, as is going to be the red room compared to the blue room, which I do know the callouts on this map, but I don't want to say them because a lot of people here are not. This is a very, very hard map to learn when it comes to callouts. Now going to be looking at Pale Loop trying to come in for that, using that swing distance to get ahead of Pale. Now actually going to be slipping past Wispy. There's going to be the 1-for-1 coming through from Pale Loop as Daimao is going to be free and off the hook. Oscar is also going to be another injured survivor, but now going to be refocusing on it to Daimao. No, instead going to be going over towards the classroom locker right here. Could be close by to someone. That is not going to be Oscar. Instead, that is going to be Dunder, the final healthy survivor in this current moment. And we could be looking at Oscar or Dunder, somebody rotating in to quickly heal Daimao to make him a little bit safer, because remember, he is in a fairly tough situation in this current moment. But setting our sights on to Pale Loop, that is going to be another fresh hook directly on top of them. Not going to be going over towards another hallway locker, going inside of the classroom, catching on to Daimao, who is the tunnel out, but that locker is going to be locked. I keep like stuttering over myself for a minute there. Vaulting it 3 times, one more vault there, and now that is going to be the official lock. Not going to make enough distance to make over towards his pallet. They are unfortunately not going to be able to make it for that potential pallet save either, as that is going to be the eruption affecting another survivor there in the distance, who I believe is going to be Thunder. Did I just say Thunder? Dunder. Good lord, dude, I'm tripping up over myself. Dyer, help me.
A little bit of thunder on the map going on though, because Wispy is also putting a great pressure onto the survivors of Oboy here. One execution onto Daimao, another hook stage straight onto Pale, but we do have a lot of progress into the generator right here. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a win condition, and this win condition is relatively hard. We do have 4 generators to the completion there, so that's going to be a little bit of a task here for Wispy, and we have to do more hook stages to go, more to achieve. Let's see what Wispy can do here. Next chase going to start with Pale. That's an injured survivor. Only Dunder could come in here and throw the body, and Wispy not getting that. That would have been huge and would have saved a lot of time. Unfortunately now though, Pale is going to make it towards this pallet here, and by dropping it, that's going to be a little bit of a safer tile, but not against Wispy, because all of this experience is enough to shorten down the chase to an absolute minimum. Slugging as well now, very understandable, because if we lose an additional generator, that would be only the tie possible on the Midwich Elementary School, but it is looking like a potential tie. At least Oscar being injured as well could potentially work on another generator. If we would go into the tie, we will play the Artist set first, and if Artist is then going to be the 1-1, then we would return to the Midwich Elementary School just to take that as a question or an answer to all the potential questions that are coming up here. Oscar has progressed the generator over here in the corner. It has around about 50 to 60% of progress, not the worst one, but also the blocking mechanic is now slowly coming in here onto the generators, preventing that Wispy can take further regression. Quickly dropping the destroying the pallet here, because 2 survivors are now in the classroom, and that's going to be a back and forth here. One more vault, and that's going to be the blocked window. Therefore Ace going to be in the locker, forcing the pickup so the teammate can make it away. But specTral, it's looking chaotic on the side of Oboy now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually kind of a repeat of what happened to Tremor. However, it is a fair, very different situation. It is the end game situation that we're looking at here that is being played poorly by the side of the survivors, but of course it was done in very different fashions. Wispy is just getting the pressure on the survivors so expertly that they're not going to be able to pull off, and what Obi did is that he completely slugged the survivors, and the survivors were unable to respond to it efficiently. Going to be vaulting and teleporting back towards this locker twice in a row to get a lot of distance on top of Pallet, but unfortunately Pallet for Wispy is actually going to make this pallet safely, and unfortunately is going to lose another 50-50 off of that. So I'm not gonna lie to you, man, a lot of things that survivors need to do is just run away, but it's so hard to get in the head of the killers. If you are in the tournament, or no, if you scrim against somebody who likes to greed or respect pallets a lot, that is going to be so unfortunate for the time that you go inside of a tournament and you face somebody that just completely runs to the pallet, doesn't respect it at all. Two completely different play styles. That's why a lot of people say that scrimming, although it's very useful to learn how to play against a specific killer, is not very good to learn the play style of said killer, because you do need to take everything into account. And right now Dunder just winning 50-50s back to back on an extremely safe pallet, using what seems to be any means necessary to fake that vault, or maybe just crouching on top of it. But even with Dunder wasting as much time as possible, that is going to be 3 people slugged on the floor, and another 4K1 presented by Tremor. So amazing, man.
4K1 once again. That means we are not having anyone who is taking the set point here. We are not having a 1-1 as we anticipated. It stays with a 1-0 for Team Tremor. But we need 2 since we are having a best of 3 here. So we are going forward to the Artist set. If Tremor wins the Artist set, we have a clean 2-0 and we can all go to bed. But if we don't have a decision right there, and imagine Oboy would take the Artist set, then we would need to come back to the Midwich Elementary School and replay the Dredge in order to find out who's going to take the win right here. Exciting matches ahead. Unfortunately, Trauma and Eternal, the big banger match that is finishing off the day, will need to wait a little bit longer there in the background. What does that mean now for the Artist set here? I mean, Artist is another killer where you can do a lot of damage as the Survivor team early on, especially when you dodge a few crows, when you're really slippery there in the early game and get some good pressure in. On the other hand, Artist is a set that can have so many turns, especially when you're not aware of some snipes. specTral, now we face a completely new context here. 1-0 for Tremor, but 2 sets already being played. Who's taking the Artist set? What do you think?
Oh, it's actually really difficult. I've never seen Wispy actually play Artist before. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. For people that are somewhat newer to the comp scene, or even some veterans that just haven't really spectated too many games performed by Wispy, there's a lot of killers here that we just have not seen at all this guy play. Everybody knows Wispy for some of his ranged killers, like I'd like to say Death Slinger, killers like his M1s, his, I don't know, man, his macro is just so insane. He knows how to play almost every killer to 4K on almost every map versus almost every team. It's insane how much experience Wispy has, and we just haven't seen it. Like, we have barely even scratched the surface of Wispy's intellect when it comes to the amount of game sense he has and the amount of actual killer mechanics that he has. Because I'm not gonna lie, even though a lot of people do say, and like we did see in these games here with Tremor, his survivor side is very powerful in chase, but not extremely perfect when it comes to team coordination and chemistry and everything like that. But his killer is just nothing to be joked around, because every single time that people doubt him, he just completely tears apart the team that they thought was about to stop the reign of Wispy when it comes to being the king of NA. But of course, now going over towards the Artist set, I think Oboy might take that. I don't know. It could be a 2-0. We're just gonna have to see how that actually ends up going for us after our intermission and these hopefully short messages. So we will see you all very, very closely by with the tiebreaker set of Artists after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Artist, and what's going to happen here? Will it be Oboy forcing us back on Midwich Elementary School to replay the Dredge? Or will it be Team Tremor walking away with a confident 2-0 since the Dredge did not find any decision in terms of the set point? We will find out soon. Dunder here taking the first pair of crows, jumping into the locker and getting them right back into application. That's also going to be the M1 injury right here. Will we see a couple of snipes? That's going to be the interesting question. Definitely on Dunder, our crow expert here in the first 60 seconds of the game. That's going to be Jay coming in as a support there, dropping the Shack Pallet, and Dunder now also going to be the injured survivor, but luckily managed to find the distance, dodging the crow, so that's definitely taking a lot longer than Wispy was planning.
Especially with the start of the match here. I do remember actually my first ever game of DBDL casting here was I believe it was Cynic versus Sinners on an Artist matchup. So returning to this here at the desk is going to be definitely such an explosive matchup. Catching a crow there on 2 Daimao. We are actually going to be seeing some interesting add-ons here. Direwolf, the thought behind Severed Hands is such a very powerful one. It does definitely serve a lot of purpose. Oh my god, an amazing 50-50 win there from Wispy on top of Dunder, interrupting my thought completely. Now going to be going back over towards Shaq to try and pressure anybody that could have been on that Penamento totem. But this build is very interesting indeed, as we're actually going to be seeing the 2 perks that Wispy was hopefully relying on to stay around just for a little bit longer, being completely removed. And even with that being said, Daimao is about to take out another totem for him, meaning that Penamento is actually going to be completely removed unless he goes over to quickly grab the one that did end up being ruined. But he's losing a lot of these perks here. He's just going to have to play around the pressure that he did have perfectly. And with Pally actually taking a tag there very quickly, Dunder is going to be the only hook. And there is still no gen pressure enough to completely horrify Wispy just yet. But there's a gen here about to pop very soon. So maybe potentially excited. There it is onto Pally's side. But a bit of a slow start here for Wispy and definitely for Tremor. Gonna have to see how Oboy is gonna have to respond to this because, you know, Wispy has a plan here definitely in mind, but I don't have any idea on what it could be just yet, man. It's still so exciting there with the second gen popping, but just no action, nothing yet.
Yeah, this is very tricky right now. Wispy not finding the grasp on the Survivor team that he would like to have. Not this aggressive pressure from the get-go. We do see Dunder, however, getting into the second stage. So maybe this is something we can benefit of. Going for the elimination there potentially, but I was expecting Wispy to come out more aggressive, to have more of a control what's happening on the Wrecker's Yard here, and it looks a little bit passive when we are looking in terms of the gameplay. Great snipe though on the Survivor over here, 2 of them being affected by the crows, so that's definitely going to be a little bit of pressure and a little bit of impact here. We do see the next Survivor right next to the hook. That's going to be our Jake. Oscar going to take the tag though. He will go into the trade for Dunder, and that's going to be a very, very deciding chase now. Is Dunder staying in the game? How much time can he waste if he finds elimination? All of these are important questions right here, and we can only hope that the run will be a long one. Yeah, never mind.
And as you say that, he completely hits the floor so incredibly fast. This is actually going to be the pressure that Wispy is going to require on top of these survivors, with Pally going to be taking it off. But no, instead, Daimo's actually going to be coming in to grab a very fast firecracker on the top and to save Dunder from being completely tunneled out. Seems like we're actually going to be seeing a pickup onto Oscar, meaning that the pressure that I was just talking about was completely ripped from the claws of Wispy. I am so, like, that was such an amazing comeback there by Oboy. They just completely pulled around this unfortunate circumstance against themselves. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that was just so perfect, and they pop a 3rd gen for it and everything. Dunder is going to be alive just for a tiny bit longer, but then he ended up dying just later. Enough for the survivors to end up picking up Oscar. Now most likely going to be looking at a reset between Oscar and Paliloop, meaning that 3 survivors are going to be healthy and being able to pressure these gens safely with a tag in mind. But now actually going to be finding the reset. Reset is going to go through onto Oscar. Pal is still going to be injured. No sights on Daimao just yet, so they could be pressuring either a totem or a gen off in the distance. Completely unknown to us, but now we're going to be sending the crows and now finding Daimao. They're over at the corner of the map next to one of the deeper side gens. I'm not going to lie, this is looking a little bit tough as the reset is fairly close by, unless they did end up moving over towards the right side of the map compared to where we are right now on the left side, where Daimao is going to be chased, following him onto a pallet. Daimao is going to safely make his way over towards Funbus. However, he is going to be taking a tag for it. His only goal now is just to be wasting as much time as possible. He has both the window and the pallet to work with. How expertly is he going to be able to use this? Maybe setting up a crow here to work against him. Just one crow, as he's going to be forcing him in a bit of a tough situation. Looking for that snipe, is end up going for it straight through, and now making his way back over towards, actually no, not going over towards the rock pile, instead going to be going over towards the edge tile, which is actually going to be a really smart and safe play. Even with the stun, that is not going to be enough, as he sends the crow completely through himself and gets the down onto Daimao. Very good play there by Wispy, as Pally is going to be moving over towards the last Penamento totem to take it out and completely remove the pressure that gives, because I'm pretty sure it's minus 20% speed on all gens, and now that is going to be completely removed, as Oscar is most likely safely allowed to pop this gen without any pressure from the killer just yet. Even with the crow coming through, that is not going to be enough to scare Oscar away.
Oscar staying here like a rock on the generator. Generator number 4 coming out, so therefore only one more to go, and the 3 gen that could be in play is definitely not the greatest. Yeah, we are kind of playing in one half of the Wrecker's Yard, but there are definitely other setups that are far more easy for the killer player here. Therefore, Wispy not in the best spot. The only thing you can rely on is that you eliminated one survivor, and the second one is currently on the hook, so only Oscar and Pally are potentially able to work on the check gen right there, and we do see Wispy taking a couple of snipes down there. Let's see what's happening next. Will we see the camp onto Daimao into the second stage, and Oboy potentially sacrificing the teammate here a little bit in order to get the pressure in? It seems like a good option since they are together and able to team up there in the distance. We do constantly hear the locker noises denying these crows, and the question is, how much progress do we have there? This is the calculation Wispy has to do right now. How many seconds are still available on the generator, and how much longer does it take? And the answer is that Pentimento does actually do a lot of stuff here. We do only have 40% so far, so that's going to be a good slowdown beforehand, and even now the survivors not fully recovering from it yet, and Daimao is about to die in specTral. There needs to be a move here by the survivor team.
I mean, I also want to keep it a surprise. I don't want to switch over to that specific survivor just yet, as I do actually want to see where they are on the killer's perspective. We have no sights or any eyes onto Paliloop at all. Daimao actually going to be coming in save, as Pally is going to be going in for the 1-for-1, completely unknown to us, as we're only going to be switching over to quickly catch over and maybe potentially get that, as now Wispy's actually going to be safely moving over towards the gen to quickly pressure it, as he does understand that there's a lot of pressure on this gen, and there's going to be a survivor on the floor, meaning that Daimao does not have enough time to move over as he is injured, meaning that the only thing he can do is try to grab a quick pickup onto Paliloop and then move over to Shaq, as Oscar's only job is also to run away, far away from the gen. Injured, now going to be resetting his focus over towards this generator, which is going to be moving over to quickly kick it and maybe move back over towards the survivors that are and have just now picked up. Maybe going to be resetting here. No sights just yet, as Wispy's going to be sending crows off in different directions to see if he can maybe catch onto the survivors. But a very quick exchange there, as that was an insane usage of his power there. Wispy grabbing a lot of distance now, probably going to be going over for that snipe on to Daimao, as they do actually end up hitting it. Very good game sense, as he does understand where Daimao could be, so that is going to be a little bit of information onto Wispy's side, but a lot of difficulty, as he's not going to be forced into a very tough 50-50 spot. Ends up dodging it, makes that pallet very safely, playing that 50-50, ends up W-keying through. I don't believe he's going to be able to make it this time. Actually, no, doubling back, vaulting it twice, 3 times, now goes for the third, but unfortunately Oscar does not have the ping nor the distance to make a vault like that, as they are doubling a corner gen very, very deep into the map. Ends up dodging it effectively. Hopefully that was not enough killer instinct on that part there, but Daimao moves over closer towards the edge of the map. Maybe going to be caught onto by Wispy, but Wispy does actually end up knowing where both survivors are. He also does know that Oscar is in a very tough spot right now and is required to be picked up. In this situation, it is going to be very difficult for Oboy to come back here. Dire, even though they are still on board and they are still here bringing up fights, as two of them are currently standing against Wispy right now, they need to bring back this intense pressure as they are just directly crawling forward, grasping at the ledge here as they are slowly losing their grip on this game more and more as Wispy brings up this pressure, this intense amount of weight on top of these survivors.
Absolutely, the pressure is rising and rising. Daimao, the final standing survivor, is just able to get the pickup here onto Pale. Now Daimao and Pale here together on the edge map kinda, and trying to figure out what they can do against Wispy here. Tremor's killer absolutely dominant now towards the later part of this trial. Looks very strongly like an incoming 4K. The rotation coming in onto Oscar. Oscar will not go second stage, he will be rescued in time, but Wispy, of course, with this unhook, being aware where all these survivors are. And there's going to be now the kick on the generator, because you do want to keep an eye on this one. It has a fairly huge progression amount and one chase that takes a little bit longer than expected, and a rotating survivor could potentially finish it. Next snipes coming out in terms of 3 crows, not hitting Oscar nor Palalu, so they are getting away here a little bit into safety. Really, really good move from them. And that's now going to be the rotation back towards the 3 gens that we have here. 1 survivor leaving, so Oboy definitely trying to drag as much efficiency as they can here. Immediately trying to hop back on the generators when they have the chance to do that. But Wispy being aware, doubling back from the shack, scouting the area back towards generator defense in the perfect moment. Pale going to take the crows here, looking forward to a potential down, but Wispy has to rotate back towards the shack because there's Oscar working on another generator. specTral, it feels like Wispy needs to be at 2 locations at the same time here.
Indeed, man. It is actually fairly close by, so the amount of pressure, especially if Pal actually going to be going down here, as he down has the complete green light to completely commit towards Oscar. His only job is to find him, and with these scratch marks actually giving away his location, and his blood pools are going to be here. The groans of pain, we do know where he is at this complete moment. Now going to be running around shack. Honestly, personally, I wouldn't have had enough distance there to, I probably just would have walked inside there. Short swinging there for some reason. Wispy trying to pull up his power to quickly shoot out these crows against Oscar, but is going to do it and get ahead of himself just a little bit. Ends up making this pallet safely. This is really tough job here for Oscar, as his goal here is to try and bring back the match by picking up Pallet and maybe surviving that, but that is so incredibly difficult, impossible even, especially in this situation, as Wispy is going to be grabbing the down onto Oscar and solidifying a 4K1 for the first set of Artist against Oboy. Now, I do know this, Dire. This is a super good result, but it's Tremor we're talking about, and from what we've seen in the previous games, every time it comes down to a 4K1, something always happens. Now, do you believe that it is going to happen again, or do you think that they're finally about to break this 4K1 throw streak that they're on right now for 2 entire sets in a row? It is going to be very difficult, but like I said, man, what are your thoughts? Whoa. What is that crow doing?
That crow is celebrating a little bit with us. This amazing 4K that we are seeing here in terms of Wispy's performance on the Wreckers Yard. Really strong. Another 4K 1 gen seems to be the standard win condition for the evening. And that also sets the tone very clear, right? Oboy either gets a 4K on 3 gens completed, or Tremor gets all the generators done. I think it's fair to say we are all hoping that there's not going to be another tiebreaker being needed. Or if, then at least with the set point being decided for Oboy, so we can move on with the 1-1. But ladies and gentlemen, Tremor and Oboy keeping it exciting for us and keeping it very close together. So let's find out how it comes to an end here on the Wrecker's Yard, with Obi very likely for Oboy on the killer side after the break.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the one and only DBDLeague, here with the potential final game of the I almost said second set. This would technically be the second set because, you know, it's 1-0 and everything, but this is the tiebreaker set. I'm your caster, specTral, joined here by the one and only man himself, Direwolf, the organizer of this league, who's going to be co-casting with yours truly. Maybe going to be looking at a 4K0 result here. That is actually the win condition for the survivors, so that is the bare minimum of what they can do. But of course, remember, this is DVD comp. We're not looking for the minimum, we're looking for the maximum. We're looking for everything that you are able to bring to us, to bring us the most exciting match here, with Jaw taking the first chase here. Now, as I did say before in the previous game there, with a 4K1 result for Wispy for the start here of the tiebreaker, I did mention there is a potential chance for Tremor to win this. I mean, after all, remember, Tremor's a very experienced team. They can get good enough chases, they can have enough pressure. But Dire, bringing back this question, do you think with this 4K1 win con-ish result, do you think that it is possible for them to be able to pull forward and potentially win, even with how difficult and how in moments they can very much get inside their own heads at the end game, at the final part of this match? It's going to be very difficult for them. What do you think? Do you think they're going to be able to pull it off?
Yeah, I feel like the difficult challenge in this trial is to keep the energy up all the way until the end. We are not really having a wiggle room here. Obi is in a really good spot based on the pressure he gets here early on from the first hook stage, especially on the Wrecker's Yard, with that basement hook here that is allowing him a lot of control. But keeping this energy up all until the end, that's going to be the deciding factor for both sides here. The Survivor team needs to make sure that they are going to stay confident on the objectives, that they are not going to overcommit to anything, and Obi needs some great calculation here. And I feel like his first calculation of the game is forcing Jar into that second hook stage and putting him on 60-second timer away from the elimination here. So we can only hope that Tremor has a good plan against this, either by double saving or by just getting rid of the teammate basically, and in exchange completing some generators in the distance. It seems like that's what they are trying to do as individual survivors. So we might see 3 objectives, at least 2 should be completed here. On the other hand, Wispy now rotating towards the shack and trying to figure out how they can get Jar out of there. For all the rule lovers, it is not allowed to take the Kobe mechanic. It needs to be a survivor manually going down into the basement and saving Jar. And the time is running, specTral. We might lose a survivor at this very early point.
Yeah, it is just 1 gen that has been popped recently. Make that 2, as Caster's Curse is going to slap me across the face completely. Honestly, it hurts, man. It really stings to be slapped by Caster's Curse, because, dude, that was just literally, as I said, I was in the middle of saying it and they popped that gen. But Haunt about to take a tag. Jaw actually about to die. Is there going to be able to... No one's going to be able to save them even last second. Death at 3 gens. This is exactly what Oboy is going to need to win against Tremor. I mean, it is still possible. Keep in mind, they do just need to pop 5 gens, and this is Tremor we're talking about. Very good team indeed, but dude, having a death this early is going to be horrendous for these players right now. Very good amount of macro. Whoa, really nasty hit there on top of Haunt, but not enough chase there to have these survivors completely repositioned. Now they're actually going to be looking for a quick tie. I do think they do have enough pressure, even with Jaw dying, to be able to get this tie result, as we did end up seeing. But remember, for them to win with the 2-0, for them to quickly end this so we don't have to go back to the Dredge set or the Cenobite set or any set in general, we do not want this to be a tie. We need this to be a win for either side, meaning that he either has to 4K right now or they need to pop 2 gens, which is going to be very difficult. But however, 4King is going to be a lot easier, Dire. I mean, they're completely down a man. This is going to be something that they're going to have to deal with, being completely, I'd like to say, not enough hands on deck right now, as Wispy is actually going to be taking a tag. Haunt, who's going to be the tunnel out, also injured. probably going to be trailed after, but it seems like Obi's just going to be focusing his sights over onto Zaphis, as he does understand that Zaphis has a lot of pressure on the top of this generator, and this guy is not injured. Keep that in mind. So now going over to kick it with whatever he has on his hands, which it seems like it is going to be... No pop goes the Weasel, and it's just going to be a dry kick. Dude, I think there's a lot of potential here. Definitely. We both know this, Dyer. There's a lot of things that can happen here. I mean, right now we're on the literal teetering edge of a win for both sides. It's literally 1-1 right now. He 4Ks, that's going to be a 1-1, and meaning that one person is going to have to take another set against the others, or they go to the tiebreaker, no one takes a set, and we're going to have to replay another set, or they pop 2 gens right now as Zaphis hits the floor, and that is going to be a win for Tremor with 2-0. That is going to be very interesting. Uh-oh.
This is something we always hate to see, because this is hopefully it's internet. That's what I can say. Hopefully it's internet, because then it's just a kill and it's all good. But if this is anything related to behavior or a game server or something like this, and we are now in the 6th trial here coming together to debate if something that happened was a fault of a player or not, well, then GG. Then I'm packing my things and leave you alone on the desk, specTral. You can figure it out. I'm not up for that. Yeah, our team is investigating in the background. Big shout out to them. We'll start checking what happened to Haunt here. But definitely out of nowhere now, we are talking about a completely different game. I was about to mention, whenever we faced a 3v1 for a survivor team, it already feels like you are playing a completely different game, and then you are losing a survivor again, forcing it down to the 2v1, and you're not only losing a survivor at a plannable time and a plannable event, like for example when someone has been tunneled by the killer, you're losing the survivor out of nowhere. Your strategy doesn't work anymore, your game plan doesn't work anymore, and therefore a lot of issues now coming up. We do see Wispy doing a very interesting times of looping here. Yeah, how Wispy plays DBDL is cutting the new videos together. We are enjoying it a lot, and that's would be the 4K on 2 generators remaining. However, the result is on hold. We will need to find out what happened there in the distance, and that's why I'm going to announce the please stand by screen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hop right into that one. We will see you after a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the housekeeping of the DBDLeague. We have checked on Tremor's disconnect, and unfortunately it was an internet cut / electricity cut on the player there. So that counts as a normal sacrifice, and therefore Oboy takes the set. It's a 1-1 now, and we're going back to the Dredge. It's going to be Tremor taking the killer role first, because we are playing tiebreaker sets in alternating order or in opposite order from the original. And since Oboy was playing Dredge first earlier, it's now Tremor earlier. Important to give you some background now, because Oboy has taken the time out, so we have 3 minutes here to talk a little bit. Why is it the fault of a player when there's internet or electricity cut? Because obviously the player is not responsible for it, and we understand that the responsibility is not on the player physically and theoretically and whatever. On the other hand, we will not be able to distinguish who's pulling the cable from the PC, who's telling the mom turn the electricity down, who's shutting down the Wi-Fi on the PC with a keyboard. Not saying anyone did that here, don't get me wrong. I just want to explain why the rule is like this. Therefore, everything that's on the location or on the side of the player, such as internet cut, power out, I don't know, the dog jumping on the keyboard and pressing Alt F4, whatever it is, you are going to count as eliminated, because we can only address things that are happening in the game, like a game server, a game-breaking bug, things like that. It's very unfortunate, because the game was really open still at that point, and Tremor really had the chance to smash through the needed win condition there. So it's really, really unfortunate that this is decided like this. On the other hand, I feel like Oboy deserves it. We talked about it earlier. Obi has shown us a lot of comebacks and a lot of impressive killer performances, and their survivor performance was really energetic as well. So I feel like it is still somewhat fair that we are going into the tiebreaker back on the Midwich Elementary School here. That is my hot take. We have specTral with another hot take. specTral, again, we are talking about a completely different context here. Now with the 1-1, we're going back on the Dredge. Who do you see coming as the winner here?
Feel like this is going to be definitely a fresh start for Tremor. I mean, believing at what they had, I feel like Wispy might be able to replicate his result. Remember, we're talking about one of the best players in the world right here, and especially with Crossbang, it's definitely possible to replicate this result. But there is also a second chance. Remember, it comes back to the argument, and I did say earlier in this entire match as a result, I believe it was actually in the Dredge set, where I was saying scrimming really does only get you so far because you only face the tournament killer once, meaning that you only have one time to try and adapt to their playstyle on that killer specifically. But this is going to be a rematch on the exact same set, the exact same killer, the exact same player. So you have another shot at trying to make this work. We could be seeing Oboy coming through here with an amazing match, hopefully being able to adapt to Wispy's playstyle and maybe taking a 2-1 against Tremor. But Tremor is going to have to be very, very, very careful here, because even if Wispy is actually able to replicate the result, there's one thing that they should never try to replicate, and it is their performance there in their survivor game on the Dredge set at the end game. If their end game does go a lot better, as we have been seeing back to back, Tremor is just continuously having such rough stages of the game, usually near the end, when 2 gens are remaining, when 1 gen is remaining, when something needs to be done desperately just to progress the game at such an inevitable pace to where they have a strong enough standing to make it out forward with these outs. But it is still going to be very difficult, man. I mean, even I as the caster, who have seen these players play for even as long as I've been in the comp scene for 3 years now, I have seen these people play, and yet I have never ever expected to see them on these killers. It feels like I'm just being thrown into here like as if I've never seen these people before. It is just a complete surprise, Dyer.
Absolutely, and it is the longest match we have in Season 9 so far. We had a couple of replays, we had a couple of tiebreakers, but going into the third set, then making the 1-1 and returning all the way, this is becoming one of the longest matches here. And it's really, really great because we talked about it in the campfire chat earlier. Tremor is an insanely great team with a huge strength, and Oboy is a huge team. And therefore, seeing that they are going so far and so long against each other makes it just great, because I feel like both get the chance to showcase themselves. We profit because we get a very exciting matchup that is really, really having a rewarded winner at the end, because whoever takes this is hopefully celebrating this after hours and hours of competing here in normal game. And it also gives us a little bit of a hint what we can expect from the playoffs. We are halfway through the season almost, so we are looking towards the playoffs sooner and more, and seeing how much these teams are fighting in a normal match, in a normal week towards Season 9 is just making me more and more hyped of what's to come right there. We are seeing, however, that the teams are getting ready again in the distance, so we will just go on a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you in just a moment.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the one and only DBDLeague here with not another set. Yes, we are now back with another set, which is going to be Dredge on Midwich, a replay, since we did end up seeing there, unfortunately, as Dyer did very, very well explain to us, that was a DC, meaning that unfortunately that is going to be Tremor taking or losing their potential chance to either get a tie to go for a 2-0 or for them to completely 2-0 there from the get-go. But now it is currently 1-1, and the score is going to start off with Wispy on the Dredge for the side of Tremor versus the Oboy Survivors, which right now Pally Loop is going to be in chase. Jiggy, Oscar, and Daimao not going to be seeing a exact same roster of the one previously. Oh lord, a fairly unfortunate circumstances. Pally does not revault that window for some reason. I don't know, it was blocked. We are going to see that. Unfortunately, just not going for that pallet was definitely a very big mistake there, but he does dive fairly deep. Wispy opting to go for the safer play and is now going to be going into the basement. And actually, unlike before, wait, crowd control. I did not see that. I thought he vaulted it 3 times for a second. That was just my fault for not paying attention for a few quick seconds there. But that is going to be incredibly unfortunate. Now going to be getting out of the locker and catching on to Oscar for the second chase of the game. A fairly intense start, but like I was about to say, surprisingly enough, Dire, he has not lost his totem so fast like before.
Absolutely, and to everyone who is saying, that's a different build on Wispy there, that's why the survivors are not aware. Well, when we replay a tight set, the teams do have a chance to send us new builds and set them again for the killer and survivor side before we are loading back in. Wispy has used this chance for the killer build here, therefore we are seeing something different, and so far this switch seems to work out relatively good. We do have a hook stage so far, we have 2 injured survivors already, 3 injured survivors already, so therefore Wispy definitely looking forward to a good pressure right here. Going cross map though, holding W on the side of Pally here, trying to waste as much time from Wispy as possible. Meanwhile, the survivors cranking out the generators. I do feel like though the survivor team of Oboy is playing a little bit stronger than in the previous trial. We had a couple of additional hook stages beforehand, but with the second one coming now in, it seems that Wispy is keeping up with the pressure here. What I'm a little bit worried about is that Oboy is staying injured here. I understand you want to take as much pressure on the generators as possible, especially in the early game, but especially with the Dredge coming out of a locker next to you out of nowhere, that's a very risky decision, and we see it right here.
Oh lord, this is not enough. You did say that they were playing a lot stronger, and I do have to agree with you. However, stronger also does have to come with the fact that they are being very aggressive right now, and this aggression is really starting to get ahead of themselves, because this is way too much pressure on top of the survivors in this current moment. Right now we're actually going to be looking at Pally being saved. Jiggy is the only survivor right now that is currently injured and that does not have anything protecting him, because Pally does have borrowed time and a lot of distance, including that speed now to work with, which he's actually going to be redirecting. So let's hope that the speed is going to get them in a position far enough away from Wispy for them to be able to do that. Now going to be teleporting into a locker, hopefully in front of them, actually going to be stopped by a lock completely, as Oscar is going to be saved off the floor. If they were, as I did just say, playing a very aggressive, and I feel like that was kind of working against them. He does, however, have 2 states and 2 gens are remaining. So Oboy is currently up when it comes to the ratio of hooks at this point, but they're gonna have to play a little bit safer. I feel like toning it back just a teensy bit might be enough for them to perfectly find the golden ratio, the golden chance, the absolute perfect opportunity for the perfect game to go forward, as Pally's actually going to have an opportunity to get a pretty long loop here. He does have all of these pallets to work with, and actually going to be dropping that, holding his teleport down. Should have just ran in a straight line instead of trying to commit to that 50-50, which is now going to result into the down. A small mistake from Pally, but it is going to get hopefully enough time for them to pop this gen. Wispy's actually going to be looking for a teleport to see if they can interrupt it, but 2 people doubling this gen right now, going to be committing on top of Daimao, as Daimao is going to be looking at a fairly unfortunate situation, running into the killer as they're going to pop that gen, and now going to be focusing onto the reset. 2 people down, and Pally is dead on hook. Focusing on him just to get 1 person out at 2 gens is a very smart decision, because no one is going to be able to get over in time towards Daimao to quickly pick him up, meaning that this is going to be a hook right after one another. A fairly good set pace for Wispy, but it is not looking too bad for Oboy. Wait, but maybe instead he's going to be slugging Daimao, instead focusing on trying to find this reset. He does have to find where Oscar and Jiggy are. They could be very close to where that... I mean, I'm not going to lie. He was fairly close to them to begin with. I just don't believe he ended up hearing them or did have a locker to completely see that situation entirely. But Daimao is going to be picked up, and we are going to be seeing him walking in front of Wispy. Who was the Colt? My God, Daimao jump scare coming out of nowhere, focusing onto this very rough 50-50 pallet, going to be running over towards the long side, and now too many circles being run into his head as he ends up going down just because of that. Very unfortunate. Dire they did have a very strong start here, and like I said, I feel like they were playing a little bit too aggressive, and they're still keeping that aggression at a high. This could very easily be a 4K. What are your thoughts, especially with this chase that's about to happen here on a potentially injured survivor who I believe is going to be Jiggy?
I don't want to be that type of guy, but I told you, and this is directed towards Oboy and not towards you as my homie here on the desk, because we talked about the risk they are taking with all these injuries, with slamming the generators, and you can do that. If Evan the Jimbo is running after you with his bear traps, then you certainly have a way to reach the next pallet, but if it's a dredge coming out of the locker right next to you, then it's a lot more difficult to find safety. Nice mind game here by Wispy as well, and this risk, this danger that was taken by Oboy intentionally on the survivor side is now making them pay the ultimate price here, and that's potentially facing a 4K even on a one generator remaining. However, I gotta say, this match between Oboy and Tremor is so filled with ups and downs and returns that I don't want to go into any this is potentially looking like this, because they will surprise us anyway. They all pull something out of the back pocket. Wispy is pulling something out of the back pocket, then there comes a turn, there comes an insane play by either side, so this is really open. Usually you would say this is very likely to be a 4K or at least one more generator. When these two teams are playing today, there's nothing that you can predict, and this is what makes this matchup so great and why I would watch these two teams for hours and hours longer. We are going for another teleport, catching another injured survivor, but slowly here, specTral, I think from the slugging now and from the pressure that he's trying to apply, I feel like we can tell that Wispy would look forward to shut it down right here with a 4K.
I mean, yeah, another thing I also would like to mention at this situation, all the viewers that are currently watching this at this current moment, there are 3 stages on the board, but that does not mean that this is right now looking bad for Wispy. I mean, Wispy is in an amazing spot. We are seeing finally that his totems are actually just now being destroyed. That was one thing that was helping stop these survivors for quite a long time, and now the Penamento has finally come through with them breaking that Undying totem first, and now another stack of Penamento can come through as well. He's probably waiting for them to break the first one to then go on forward to get that second one, so he can only focus on that. Jiggy expecting him to try to respect the pallet, but it does not work in his favor. Diamond completely caught out of position, only having a window and a pallet to work with. Going to be locking him down with the teleport. Could be seeing a 50-50 coming through from here. For now, going to be committing over towards this window. Very good plays here by Diamond, wasting enough time for him. Oscar is going to be committing to a gen instead of going over to try and see if he can pick up Jiggy, but Jiggy's in a bit of a tough spot. Now going to be using that second rekindle. Unfortunately for me, not being able to predict what was in Wispy's head right now, as Wispy's plan is to bring him quickly into the basement. Very fast play there, and very well played by these Oboy survivors, keeping their wits alive. Jiggy is going to be the only fresh hook remaining. Now, 4K1 result isn't the most difficult thing, but I think the one plan here for Oboy is to try and bring it to 4K0, because 4K1, they do know that Tremor has struggled with that for quite a while, so they could potentially see if there is a chance. I mean, more gens the better, just generally. It's not even up to whether they're going to make that same mistake as they have in those previous sets, but Diamond is going to be safely making his way over towards this pallet. A little confused as to why he would not take that window, but the teleport was not enough to completely commit to that swing. Not going to be playing around this 50-50 once more, just trying to look for that opportunity to shoot himself forward towards the window, as he's now going to actually have that opportunity here very soon. He's going to have to wait for this teleport. However, if he wins this 150-50 off this teleport, that's going to be enough for him to completely take it against him. Tries to swing for it, but no Poco's coming through, as Diamond's going to safely make that window. No Bluetooth, nothing just yet, but Jiggy is going to be in the hook on the basement, as now Oscar's going to be running in towards it safely. No 1-for-1 just yet, but the tag is going to come through either way. Maybe looking at an opportunity to see if he can maybe grab that down onto Jiggy, whether he's going to decide to wait him out or not. Staying in front of them, trying to take a hit, tries to go for that pallet, but unfortunately Oscar's not going to have enough distance, even with Jiggy trying to block him, and that is going to be another down in the basement. But is there a chance for Diamond to be working a gen off in the distance enough for these survivors to have at least popped that gen? And even with the courtyard gen, sorry, I have to cough, give me a second back, because Dude, I have a throat itch right now, and I'm kind of sick, and I'm trying to cast this. But now, bringing it back on, Daimau's going to be taking the heat once more, going to be vault. Oh my god. There is no way this is going to work against Wispy, crouching in front of his face, and ending up getting enough distance to work against him. What did I just watch? A juicer plays coming through from Daimau, not going to be locking onto the teleport, just trying to waste enough time. Goes for that swing. No, wait. Hello? Oh, and the down comes through. Okay, thank the Lord. That was either a huge lag spike on the screen share or the game. I'm completely uncertain, but now chasing no one just yet. Oscar's going to be running back in towards the room. Very quick exchange there and super exciting. Dire, I think they might be able to pop this gen. They are playing it around it very well, but they are losing ground here more and more as this game progresses.
Absolutely, yeah. The fact that we're talking about the final generator here now being a realistic result for this trial shows us again that there's nothing you can anticipate in this matchup. Oboy constantly with the pressure. We do see the rotation. Someone is there on the other side of the courtyard, was just ready to rotate in, but as soon as Wispy is moving towards that, there's the call out and there's the quick communication telling them, be careful, and Daimau trying to be cheeky here. That worked for a surprisingly long time, we have to say, until Wispy realizing that there is a little Daimau is sitting next to the generator in the corner. That is unfortunate now. Daimau is also about to bleed out here, and that's a fresh hook. Does that mean anything? No, it doesn't, because we score bleed outs with the fresh hook and the 3 individual hook stages, just like the survivor is dying on the hook. So Wispy can relatively chill here, and that would make the difference though, because then we are talking about a 2v1 scenario here. Oscar and Jiggy being around, both of them also injured. Oboy still refusing to go for a full reset here and instead trying to smash through the generators. I feel like after all they took more reward and more advantage from it than it actually costed them. But still, they are going to risk a lot here, and very, very likely they are going to... never mind! Speaking too soon here, Jiggy is coming into the courtyard, healing the teammate. Will they be able to go for a longer run? Jiggy taking the down here, a very understandable decision, so Daimau can be with them in the trial a little bit longer, because the next down was almost an immediate bleed out. But what is Oscar doing all this time? Is Oscar able to pop the generator? The answer is no. There are a lot more potential needed here. Percentage needed, I meant, on this generator. Oscar, Daimau, Jiggy now back on their feet. specTral, this is an endless fight, and Oboy is fighting so well. And I wish they would get the final gen, because they would deserve it so much.
Yes, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we do also have to give props to Wispy, because Wispy has actually been playing this completely huge, super extensive grab and power struggle right now, as we're seeing both sides of survivors right now down an entire man and one person on the floor. Oboy is just keeping the pressure on to grab this power, and they are doing so well at it, keeping themselves into the game and keeping themselves against this so powerful killer. But right now, Daimau is going to go down. Oscar on the floor. Daimau about to bleed out, meaning that they're going to be a down another man. And as you did end up saying, they are going to be getting the full points for it. Going to be going for the pickup onto Oscar. No, actually not going to be committing to it. Instead, Jiggy's going to be the last chase. And now running forward into the nursery room, potentially going out towards the darker room. But they are going to have to be careful. A quick 50-50 here. Holds the check spot to see where the killer is going to be going. Playing this pallet. It is actually not going to be the down just yet. Expecting him to vault. I do also have to cough again. Jesus. Sorry, back now. Wait, Wispy? Is he okay? Oh god, no, dude, my throat is like killing me right now. It is very dry, very itchy, so I have to like try to mute up quickly. Winning that 50-50, Jiggy is going to go down. Lord, dude, that really just...
Yeah, specTral, you get a drink for yourself real quick, because this matchup does cost a lot of energy, and you also have to cast the next set as well. So make sure that you're fine there on your voice. But indeed, and this is also a sign, right? I mean, it is difficult to cast this matchup, and this only happens when it's an exciting matchup, a long matchup, a match with a lot of hype points and a lot of highlights, then it becomes difficult to task, because when we are sitting together here talking with Granny about politics, then we would all be fine. But instead, we do have Oboy and Tremor on the screen, and that is a match with so many up and downs and so many highlights that we are actually getting a little bit towards our limits here on the casting desk. However, that is very, very positive, and a big shout out again to Wispy and Oboy here and Team Tremor for giving us such a nice matchup here and such an interesting best of 3. We are having a 4K with 1 generator remaining. Pretty standard win condition, it seems like, in this best of 3. They want to fight about that last generator consistently. We are instantly going on a break, and we will be as fast as possible, ladies and gentlemen. We will even cut the scoreboard because we need to hurry up. Eternal and Trauma are still waiting in the background, already being a little bit on edge when they can finally play. So we are hopping on a break. See you very soon. Welcome back, everyone. A little bit of housekeeping ahead. You noticed it was a longer waiting time. Unfortunately, we had trouble loading in with all the players that we needed. A little bit of a server problem right there, but now we have 4 survivors and 1 killer, and we can finally get into the last trial between Tremor and Oboy. We do have Obi for Oboy on the killer side, and Zafis, Wispy, Ronnie, and Jar for Tremor on the survivor side. Win condition is very clear. All generators done. Tremor takes it home, 2 gens standing on a 4K. Oboy takes it home. About the 1 gen standing option, I don't want to talk because Eternal and Trauma are waiting in the background. Big shout out here for them. Being very patient at the moment. I can imagine this is very difficult. But right now we have the chase with the Jar. Right here we have a sloppy butcher coming out by Obi to make the reset times a little bit longer whenever we do have an injury applied to the survivors, paired with Eruption, and pop goes the Weasel and the good old Corrupt Intervention. We're trying to find the first survivor to start a chase with, though. Obi not satisfied yet with the few option he found around the Midwich Elementary School. Gets a stun here by Wispy, and overall the survivors are playing this really safe here. No injury yet. That looks like a difficult early game for Obi here.
Especially right now with Wispy always showing us such an amazing chase here. Not going to be coming in taking a tag, however, for the first start. A big sloppy butcher coming through. We're actually seeing a complete difference in builds here. I mean, we did see just earlier, Dyer, we had Wispy with such a weird build that you do not usually see in the comp scene. Crowd control, Undying, Ruin, and Pentimento, which we actually have seen most of those perks, however, not together, and especially not crowd control. But now Obi grabbing the first 10 of the game. Maybe are we going to be seeing a repeat of every single chase that Wispy has gotten so far? Is that going to be 2 gens back to back for the first state? And it seems like that could be the case, as Ronnie is going to be splitting a gen all by himself, and Zaf is about to pop 1. So that is actually going to be the case, unless he's able to find Ronnie working on his gen, but unfortunately that is not going to be anything just yet. We do see Obi focusing more on kicking this generator, of course, applying Eruption to it to make sure that it is fairly kicked around. And now Jaw is actually going to be taking that save off onto Wispy in a super horrible situation right now. Jaw is going to have to take the hit and have help coming through, taking a tag way too early. That's actually going to be extremely bad for X9 in this situation. Forced into an extremely tough spot. He's just going to have to run in a straight line and die on top of the pallet. Could be seeing a pallet save coming through here from our survivors. Is he going to be close by enough? No, that is not going to be enough. And no one is going to be going for that, as he was dragged just around the outside. No, I just quoted the one guy that everybody's around the outside, around the outside. All right, back to the game. Dyer, they are in a fairly tough situation. They do have 2 gens, but now Obi does have a bit of a restart, and this is not a repeat of every other game, how it's been so far with Wispy. For every single chase he's gotten, it has always been 2 gens back to back.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared here to touch again on talking about potential outcomes, because I would like to say, hey, this is looking stronger from Tremor than in the previous trial on the Dredge. They might get all the generators this time, but I know that Obi in 2.5 seconds going to pull something really crazy, and then we talk about a potential 4K on 15 generators remaining or something like this. So I will not touch anything like that any longer, and instead enjoy how Obi is fighting back here. We have 2 hook stages so far onto Wispy, so the potential for an elimination is definitely there. Great teleport here right next to Wispy, forcing him into this little room here that has not the safest palette in the game, especially with a power like Dredge where you can just go for a teleport. Is it going to be a longer run by Wispy? The answer is no. That's going to be the elimination coming through. 3 Tremor survivors going to face Obi from Team Oboy here, and it's the last trial of our best of 3. Will they go for 2 additional generators and smash it into the 2-1 for Tremor, or will Obi be able to shut it down right here in a 3v1 scenario?
Oh my god!
Game and Ronnie here potentially, sorry for the word usage, but throwing it right here by being completely unaware of the surroundings and where the killer is coming from. This might be a horrendous turn.
And now kicking this generator with Pop Goes the Weasel to reduce it by a great massive amount and applying Eruption to it to make sure that it is going to be exploding. And of course interrupting anybody that could be trying to commit to it in the case of anybody trying to go for that down. Ends up breaking the lock there as he's going to be committing towards that break onto Ronnie. Another Pop Goes the Weasel to use on whichever gen it seems to be high enough progress to pressure them efficiently. Now going to be moving back down over towards his God Palette. We do see Zaphis there in the distance, and now Jaw is going to be coming in for the save. So many lockers close by. I would honestly recommend trying to go for that unlock, or that lock right there, but it seems like no, he's not going to be going back there, and no pressure is going to be going off onto the survivors just yet. But they are going to be holding check spots and focusing on trying to grab this against the survivors. Right now, these survivors are in such a tough spot. They needed more pressure off of that hook onto Wispy, but now Ronnie's going to have a second chance at his chase. He did have a very unfortunate start there. Oh my god, and another one as he ends up seeing too much into the metal. A great down there on top of Ronnie, performed by Obi, finding him such a unfortunate situation running into the lockers instead of trying to do anything else. That is just so sad and so unfortunate. But now Obi's going to be slowed down by the lock. Now going to be moving forward and chasing Jaw, who is going to be injured. And maybe going to be committing back down towards the bottom side too, to where he does know the God Palette is going to be. Zaphis is actually going to be committing to this generator, but is now going to be forced to leave it, breaking this gen with that Pop Goes the Weasel. But remember, he's actually going to be running around out of time and about how many times he can kick this. One more down, and I'm pretty sure that gen is going to be permanently locked. Jaw showing himself is going to be running all the way around the map, going for that tag onto Jaw. No down just yet, as Ronnie's going to end up getting in front and actually going to be taking the hit. But Jaw trying to W key, expecting him to see if he can maybe mind games to see if he takes that 50-50 and maximizes the amount of distance he can gain off that, but not going to be committing to Ronnie. Maybe a teleport into the locker in front of him, as that's going to be the Nightfall, getting him that speed right now, running forward, back again into the pallet. This is not going to be a actual stun, as that is going to be another down, and Ronnie is going to be dead on hook. Jesus, man. That is just so unfortunate for Tremor.
I was just scared that if we switch perspective, that Zaphis is sitting on a generator completing it and we go into another tiebreaker. That would have been too insane here, but unfortunately Zaphis is not able to put the necessary pressure into a generator because Obi is too fast, Obi is too oppressive, and unfortunately a deciding factor was that Ronnie ran into the killer very, very unaware of the surroundings and really allowed a very, very quick down onto the chases. Jar and Zaphis, the 2 standing survivors for Team Tremor. They face so much pressure. They need another generator to go for another tiebreaker. Otherwise, they will lose 2-1 against Oboy right here, right now. Will they be able to pull something significant? The answer is no, at least so far, because Zaphis is also taking the next injury. 2 injured survivors now trying their best, trying their hardest to go for the generators. We do see that we don't have a lot of, or no kicks anymore onto this generator right here. Obi chasing down the hallway, but holding W in the hallway can cause so much time loss, and holding W in the hallway brings the seconds for the teammate to potentially get that needed generator for the time breaker. Jar going into this room has a pallet available. More mind games coming out. Obi needs this down as quick as possible. This chase cannot go on for longer. Otherwise, we risk getting another generator done. Obi with a very great mind game right here, going to be able to put Jada. But what is Zafis doing? Zafis being on a generator exactly where he needs to be. But unfortunately, the down is coming in too quickly, and that's going to be the Dredge coming out of the locker in the distance. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be the decision. It's going to be a 2-1 for Oboy after 8 trials in a best of 3. 8 fantastic trials, 8 exciting trials, but ultimately it's Oboy taking the W here, and man, is that deserved. But while I'm saying it's so deserved, I feel bad because honestly, Tremor would have deserved it the exact same way. Unfortunately, we need a winner.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they brought up such a good fight, but Tremor, just mistake after mistake after mistake. We actually have a lesson now taught to us as 1, the viewer, as 2, the casters, and as 3, the entire community. Tremor is one of the most powerful teams that we have seen here on the side of NA, bringing up such a great fight against the DBDL team rosters, but it seems like they are now going to be taking a loss because of those mistakes, because at the end of the day, we are all human, and now we know Tremor just needs a very tough situation, and that situation is something that Tremor might have. Something, I'm not gonna lie, they cracked under pressure multiple times here, and even in this situation they desperately tried to do that, but the amount of kicks on the gens that were denying it, and every single eruption and every single pop, everything was just against Tremor, and unfortunately they were not able to pull through. But oh boy, even versus such a tough and powerful team, pulled through with such amazing grace, with such amazing power and strength. They kept themselves together in these super tough situations and have taken this amazing game forward. Now with Obi always having this comeback potential with these such amazing first chases performed by the survivors, but Obi, the strength of his killer just coming out of nowhere and completely shredding and surgically just cutting away at these survivors over and over and over and trading these states. It was just so unfortunate to see that Tremor was unable to pull through, but so amazing to watch Obi just completely decimate these survivors after those first 3 gens pop dire. That was just such an amazing match, man.